Hello, Hoosier fans, Hoosier haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the big matchup this week where the 7-0 Indiana Hoosiers, ranked number 13 in the country, facing off against the 4-3 Washington Huskies. And with me, I got a new guest, uh, sophomore alto saxophone member from Jeffersonville, Indiana, Jarren Sullivan. So how are we doing, Jarren?
I'm doing really well.
All right. So to start out, let's talk about your show this week. So, like, how has this year gone for you? Like, with football being great,
It's
all
been a
that stuff.
very, it's been a very good year.
Hmm.
But the section's very good. The team's very fun to watch and support. And the show's been really fun.
How do you feel about College Game Day being here? How do you feel about that?
I'm very excited. I was with some of my friends when I got announced, and we were all going crazy.
Yeah. Um, I am jealous. That's all I can't say. I'm jealous because, like, I was talking with Jack whenever I was in Bloomington. Like, possibly it'd be this week, but we were thinking maybe in the Michigan game because like we'd be 10-0 and like that'd be a cool way to do it. But we had it, but having it Lee Corso might be retiring soon. It's good for him to at least be in Indiana one time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, going into this show, I really like your show this week. Hope Rising.
Yep.
It's like standing up for cancer, which I'm all for.
Yeah. It's a really
Um,
cool show.
yeah. So like Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow by Fleetwood Mac, Survivor, Destiny's Child. I think that could be a stand tune in the future.
Oh yeah, Survivor's my favorite part of the show.
And then Fight Song by Rachel Platten, which was the song to play in any convenience store in 2015. But yeah, I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a very good show. It's gonna be very good. I'm excited for this week. I'm nervous.
Oh,
Uh, it's not that I don't trust Taven, because I fully trust Taven. It's just it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens.
yeah.
But going into Washington's history real fast, they were founded in 1861. Their first football season was 1916. Their all-time record is 676, 483 and 32. Their bowl record is 1918-1, with their most recent bowl win being the 2023 Sugar Bowl, where they eventually went to the NCAA championship game. Their record versus Indiana is 1-2. They play in Husky Stadium. And this season they're 4-3, 2-2, and their most recent game was a 16-40 loss at Iowa. And the big thing with uh, Washington is, can they win away from Husky Stadium? Because all three losses have been at least either a neutral site or road games. And the big thing, and like Washington has outgained every single team that they've played against. Like they had 521 yards against Rutgers, but they scored 18 points. That's gonna be the thing. Will Indiana be able to get stops? Because that's one thing that they've not been able to do. So why don't you go into Indiana real fast, like their team stats?
So going into our offense, for points, we have 48.7, which is the first in the Big Ten and first in the country, which is awesome.
Hmm.
For passing, we have 310.3, which is the second in the big, and then rushing 202.4, which is the third in the big. Third down percentage is 54.2%, which is first in the Big Ten. Third down attempts is 72, which is tied for second in the Big Ten. Then going for defense, points is 13.7, which is second in the Big Ten. Total yards, 262.6, which is fourth in the Big Ten. And of those, passing is 180.7, which is seventh in the Big Ten. And then rushing 81.9, which is first in the Big Ten. Third down percentage, 33.7%, which is sixth in the Big. And then third down attempts, 92, which is ninth in the Big.
Yeah, like Indiana's had a great 7-0 start. Like nothing we could really complain about except for probably pass defense. which is kind of what Washington's like. It's definitely going to be a strength versus weakness game on both sides of the ball. So we'll
Yeah.
go into Washington. Offensively, they have scored 24.1 points, which is 13th in the conference. But total yards, they have 452.7, which is fifth. We should kind of see that disparity there. Passing wise, they have just under 300 yards with 294.6, which is fourth, and 458.1 rushing yards, which is 10th. Third down percentages, which is why they're not being able to score, 38.3%, which is 15th in the Big Ten. And they are tied for fourth in the Big Ten in attempts with 81 attempts. So it's like the fourth low, tied for the fourth lowest. So like they're getting third downs and getting off the field quickly. Defensively, they have allowed 17 points per game, which is good for sixth. Total yards is 266.3, which is good for fifth. 123 passing yards, which is the best in the Big Ten, but 143.3 rushing yards, which is 15th. Third down percentage is 33.3%, which is good for fifth, on 93 attempts, which is eighth. And I'm not saying Washington's secondary is bad. I think they're pretty good secondary. But in the Big Ten games they faced, Michigan, Rutgers, Iowa, Northwestern, four of the bottom five in passing yards. They are run heavy teams. They are run first teams. They have not really faced a pass first team all season, so it's going to be a good test on that secondary. And when I was looking into it, with their pass rush not being that great, they've only, I think, gotten 5 sacks in 4 Big Ten games.
Well,
Like it's a really good secondary, really good, not secondary, a really good O line. Um, I think it's going to get Taven enough time, and we're going to see a lot of RPOs.
awesome.
All right, then let's go into individual stats real fast.
So for Indiana passing, Curtis Rourke, he's doing amazing. 131 for 181 with 1,941 yards. 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he is currently out with a thumb injury, which is 24 rushes, 42 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then the guy who's going to be taking his place for this game, Taven Jackson, 12 for 18 with 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 rushes, 36 yards, and 1 touchdown. I feel good about him.
Yeah, I feel this is going to be his third Big Ten start of his career. And his first one at home. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Rushing, we have Justice Ellison, 73 carries, 514 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and then 4 receptions for 40 yards. Receiving, we have Elijah Surratt, 32 receptions, 578 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tackling, Aiden Fisher, 66 tackles, 23 solo, 3 TFL, and 1.5 sacks. 1 pass defense. Then pass defense, Amar Farrell, 30 tackles, 13 solo, 1 sack, 2 TFL, 1 pass defense, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I think if Aiden Fisher can keep at it, and we finally got a secondary interception, we got a secondary player getting an interception, which because it's like Amari Farrell is more of a rover, more of that like third linebacker. But I think he's going to be going into a strong safety position this week. I think is what I heard. Like he's going to go into like the strong safety, and Terry Jones Jr., who played well last week, is going to be filling in for that rover position. So it'll be interesting to see. Going to talk about Washington, Will Rogers is doing as well as almost anyone, including Rourke. 153 and 212, 1,820 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But it's been sacked 13 times this season, so that's a bit of a concern. Is that O line?
Yeah.
Rushing wise, Jonah Coleman's been leading the way. 99 carries, 681 yards, 5 touchdowns, with 16 receptions for 124 yards. Receiving wise, there's two guys to really worry about. Giles Jackson, 47 receptions, 542 yards, two touchdowns, and Denzel Boston, 40 receptions, 540 yards, and nine touchdowns. Tackling wise, Carson Bruder's leading the way, 44 tackles, 25 solo, two tackles for loss, three pass defended, and one interception. And pass defense wise, Thaddeus Dixon, 19 tackles, 12 solo, a half a tackle for loss, six passes defended, and one interception. And the key for Indiana is just controlling that the line of scrimmage, which I think they can do. This could very easily be a game like the Iowa game for Washington, where they just get dominated in the line of scrimmage. Just looking at this, of their 20 touchdowns, 14 of them have been Boston or Coleman. So like they really like Boston, Jonah Coleman, Giles Jackson, Denzel Boston are really their main playmakers. And if we can tackle Jonah Coleman and on that first hit, because he's like second in average yards after contact in the entire country, behind Ashton Jeanty, which that's a whole nother story. That dude's insane. Should win the Heisman in my opinion. But if we can tackle him and keep him down, which we've been able to not not like lose tackles, I think we'll be fine. But and this is just a little bit more of an advanced prediction here. I think Indiana finally, their second time this season, wins the coin toss and elects to defer. But Washington has a good game plan and they score on their first drive and will be trailing for the first time this season. Mainly because everyone is talking about we haven't trailed.
Yeah.
And just like that whole no turnovers thing in the Maryland game, we're gonna trail to start the game. But Indiana's gonna take care of business the rest of the way and win 35-21.
Yeah. I I think it'll be similar to that, but I think we'll keep the streak of scoring above 40. So I have 42-21.
Yeah. And I think if I just had to go with like a what they're gonna do game plan wise, it's gonna be a lot of short screen passes. It's gonna be a lot of easy throws for Tavy to get comfortable in, and a lot of RPOs and a lot of I call it our RPOs, run QB run pass option. There's probably a lot of those where because we saw it in the Curtis worked to Miles Cross touchdown where he pulled it and he could have ran it, but he threw it to no, it wasn't Miles Cross. It was Miles Price. That one. We'll probably see a lot of those because of Taven's legs, and this has not been a great run defense,
Good.
mainly because they've been facing a lot of good rushing attacks. But I think if we put 200 rushing yards on the number, like what, three rushing defense at the time, Nebraska, we're gonna run wild on Washington, in my opinion, because
Definitely.
they might have to stack the box a little bit more because they probably expect the run. Because Taven's legs are a little bit underrated.
I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Hmm. How do you feel about Kyle Schwarber as the game day picker?
I love Kyle Schwarber so much because I'm a Cubs fan.
Hmm.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I feel like for me it would have either been Schwarber or Joe Buck, I think. Because of how much Joe Buck has been in on Indiana. And like
Yeah.
he's also ESPN guy, so it makes sense. And like the pipe dream would have been Trace Jackson Davis because Taven's starting, but I know that's not was not going to be logistically possible
Yeah.
because the Warriors are in Utah today and they have a game in Golden State on Sunday. So like if they were headed to like the East Coast, like it could have been possible,
Yeah. It would have been cool
but
if it worked out.
oh yeah, it would have been awesome like having Trace there. But I think it's going to be a very fun game. I'm
Definitely.
nervous as heck. There's a lot of cool storylines with this game. Taven's dad went to Washington State, so
Cool.
take that what you will. And it's gonna be very interesting with all the stuff going on there and how Indiana deals with the adversity because I don't know what's gonna be going on with Rourke. He at the latest he's gonna be back by Michigan.
Yeah,
I think is what they've been saying is like the latest is Michigan. Best case scenario is probably Michigan State. It's just pain management with his thumb at this point, how well he can grip the ball.
yeah,
Like I've heard he's doubtful for this game. Like he could technically play. I doubt it. Like he might dress, but it just depends on how that thumb feels. Because it was like play 20. It was like I remember them talking about this. It was the deep ball to Omar Cooper that set up that Price touchdown was whenever he hurt his thumb. And they put him out there for two more drives. And on that Hail Mary, you could tell that he did not have that arm. It was like 10 yards short of where it needed to be.
yeah.
So,
I fully believe in Taven because like when he came in the second half against Nebraska, most people I've talked to didn't even realize we switched quarterbacks, and I think that's a really good sign.
yeah. And he had a rough outing. Oh, wow, the spread went down to six points instead of 6.5 last time I checked, which is like an hour ago. Well, no, it's weird. It's going weird. But Taven had a near perfect passer rating in that game, a near perfect QB rating from ESPN. Um, recent games, yeah. So he was 7 of 8, 91 yards, two touchdowns with that beautiful deep ball to Elijah Surratt. I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter, but there's this account. I have a bookmark. I'm actually gonna look to see the account name, but it's like a recap of the game, and it's all the meme. It's just a meme recap, and every time Surratt was like pictured, it was like the video of the Waffle House video. It's from Edward Cotton 15 on Twitter. Like, it's just the weirdest thing ever. And like every time we had a rushing touchdown, it was like this podcast. Like, did you know Nebraska has not allowed a rushing touchdown all year? It's just funny. So I'll have to send you that later. But
That sounds fun.
yeah, it's a big game. I'm not really gonna because I feel like if I say it, we're gonna lose. But most IU fans know how big this game can be in
Yeah,
terms of record wise. I predicted them going 8-4 this season.
I predicted 9-3, I think.
Jack predicted 6-6, so he's already wrong.
Yeah,
Uh, I think Greg also predicted 9-3, so we can match that if we win today and win at Michigan State. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share on all platforms, and then I'll ask you if you could replace any pizza topping. Well, if you could take out any pizza topping, but they know that you took it out, what would it be?